Hey, hi, everybody. Welcome to Community Conversations. This is a show where we talk with the folks who help to keep our community safe, healthy, and resourced.
And you can tune in every other Wednesday from 3 to 4 o'clock on 1400 AM and 95.3 FM, and you'll hear great conversations about nonprofit organizations, leaders, resources, funders, advocacy, and policymakers will be joining us.
And all of this is designed to help you navigate choices to support yourself, someone you love, or the community you live in. I am Kathleen.
I am Allison Hennigan, and January is all about a fresh start to the new year.
So this year, so today this is our inaugural day. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. This is our very first show, no jitters of any kind. And this whole month, the month of January, is focused on the concept of a fresh start. And we're going to start with talking about dry January, understanding what dry January is, and looking to the resources that are available to the mental health and addiction recovery community. We have a couple of guests here throughout the course of the hour to help us with that. So I'm going to let Allison take us off into talking a little bit at the high level about what is dry January. Allison?
So everybody, thanks Kathleen, everybody is talking about dry or damp January. Seems to be the buzzword of the world today. This is really on how you start the new year with a fresh start, and you get healthy, and you reset everything in your life. Dry January began in the United Kingdom in the early 2010s, and it's just a chance to see how alcohol fits into your everyday life and how to make mindful choices like you make about food, exercise, money, everything, and how these habits affect your sleep, your energy, and your overall well-being.
And there really are no strict rules beyond that when you're practicing a dry January of sorts. Some cut out alcohol completely and other addictive behaviors and substances. Others make exceptions. I'm not going to do something before this time of day or after that time of day, only on the weekends, only on Mondays. Monday's a great day to do something. And then some use the month to significantly reduce their intake rather than to eliminate it altogether. But of course, all of this effort around a dry January or abstinence in general can require an awful lot of support. So today we have two guests with us here today from CCAR, which is the Connecticut Community for Addiction and Recovery. They're located here in Willimantic on Main Street. We have John Schwartz, who is the site manager, and then we also have TJ Aitken, who is the manager of the Young People and Families program.
So, welcome. We're glad to have you as our guinea pigs on our new show.
We're thrilled. We're thrilled.
Yay. Thank you so much for being our first guest.
Of course.
I'm not sure I told you that. Ha ha.
Happy to be here. All good.
So tell us and our listeners what CCAR is, and talk about some of the programs that you have and the great work you provide in this community in Eastern Connecticut.
Yes,
I would love to do that. I've been itching to do that.
Yeah, it feels like you're a best kept
it's the
secret,
Connecticut
right?
Community for Addiction Recovery.
Did I say it incorrectly?
You threw an and in there. There's no and in there. But
and.
But that's okay. We've
No
been
and
called
ifs or
worse.
buts.
We've been called worse. So the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery was formed in 1997 by a guy named Bob Savage, and his seminal question was, where are the people in recovery when decisions are being made about them? Right? We morphed into providing recovery support services in 2004 when we opened our first recovery community center in Connecticut, which is the Wyndham Recovery Community Center right across the street, 713 Main Street, Willimantic. Right? Be there or be square. We currently operate 8 recovery community centers in the state: Bridgeport, New Haven, New London, Danbury, Torrington, Waterbury, Hartford, and Willimantic. Right? We're the longest standing, but we've all been around for a while. We provide recovery support services, groups, meetings, trainings, and opportunity to volunteer, but most importantly, a safe haven in the heart of the community so you can figure out sort of where you are and where you want to go and how you want to get there, right? We provide recovery coaching services. We charge for nothing that we do. Everything is free of charge. Super low bar of entry. We have a wonderful young people and families program, really robust programming at several of our centers, and I'll let TJ talk to you about that stuff because he's similar, and he's also one of my former volunteers and one of my bestie friends. So tell him a little about what you're up to, man.
Yeah, my name is TJ. I'm a person in long-term recovery. For me, that means I haven't had a drink or a drug since August 9th, 2016.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I walked into the Recovery Community Center in Willimantic at some point September 2016. I was lost. I was about 90 days sober. I had been volunteering at the Hartford Recovery Community Center. I had moved out to a place I didn't know anything about, and I wanted some good direction and support in my recovery, and I walked in there, and I met John. Actually, John used to call me on telephone recovery support before that, so I had been introduced to John. One of the many things that we do at CCAR is telephone recovery support.
Yeah, say more about that.
So I'll actually hand it over to John because he's he manages the whole program.
Yeah, the admin for that thing, right?
Okay.
So telephone recovery support is a program that launched as a pilot in 2005. So just celebrating 20 years of providing that right now, right? And it's a program where a trained CCAR volunteer will call you on a weekly basis in order to offer you encouragement and support in your recovery, access to information, meetings, trainings, higher level of care, food insecure, whatever it happens to be, right? But most importantly, a point of connection to the greater recovery community, right? So I'm there to tell you, like, look, I know what you're doing may not be easy, but it's so worthwhile. Please keep it up. And if ever I could be of service, you give me a call, right? So I admin that program for the state. We're currently calling about 480 people on a weekly basis, and another 20 or so via text messaging, and that's how we initially connected. I started my journey as a CCAR volunteer in 2014, making those phone calls, and it was so important to me that when I actually begged them to hire me and they agreed, that they made me the admin for the program, and I've been sort of shepherding that part of it ever since.
So you talked about that all the services and programs are free. Where do you get your funding from?
We get about half of our funding through the state from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, and the rest of it we get through our training arm. CCAR is the global leader in recovery coach training, having trained over 150,000 recovery coaches. Wow. So we run trainings on a monthly basis now virtually, and we do a tremendous amount of work all over the world.
So you are a trained CCAR recovery coach, TJ?
Yep. So I'm a recovery coach professional. So that means that I've taken all the CCAR recovery coach trainings, and then I took a verbal test, which is approximately 45 minutes, where 3 people who are designated to give the test will sit down in a panel-style format, and they'll quiz you on what would you do in this specific situation, and then evaluate that from there. If I think about it, a recovery coach is based upon personal experience, right? So what makes me a great recovery coach is the fact that I've went through addiction and recovery. So that personal experience is something that I have that not everybody else does have. You can't test that on a multiple choice question test, right? Yeah. So the best way is to sit down and utilize the 3-legged stool in recovery coaching and quiz people on their knowledge of a recovery coach.
So besides training your own employees, who are the other people that, like, are there companies that you're doing training for, hospitals, other nonprofits?
All of that.
Yeah, we do a bunch of contract work. We do that, certainly. But there we're positioning ourselves in the state of Connecticut. Probably in the next legislative session, recovery coaching is going to become a Medicaid billable service.
Great.
So there are going to be a lot of nonprofits and a lot of other service organizations that are going to be hiring recovery coaches in order to be able to bill for that service. So there are any number of people who are currently case managers working for a variety of organizations who are taking our trainings now in order to be positioned to be able to do that. Not to mention the fact that recovery coaching is, to my mind anyway, the best possible way of offering somebody opportunities that they're going to actually accept, right? Because we don't objectify people. We treat them as resources. We believe in offering people the maximum amount of autonomy in their recovery from day one, right? So it may take people a little bit longer to get traction, but once they really start to invest in their own recovery, the sky's the limit. So the more people we have who are schooled in the art and science of recovery coaching, the more their approach will be more of that sort of empowerment model rather than do this now, stand on your head in the corner until I say so kind of a thing.
So then this is useful to people who are in professional situations as well as the average family member? Would they take your training?
Well, they certainly could, and we offer a variety of trainings, including like Recovery Coach Basics, which is just a quick one day for people, maybe family members, to get a little bit more familiar with the addiction recovery process.
Sure.
And a whole bunch of other trainings too. And then we have specific trainings once you've reached recovery, once you've taken Recovery Coach Academy, which is sort of the baseline, the Cadillac training, right? The 30-hour training. Then we have Recovery Coach coaching in the emergency department, in justice settings, professionalism, spirituality for recovery coaches, ethical considerations. We have one that we developed just for vets called Home-Based Navigator, right? Because all these specific populations have specific needs and specific sort of barriers, right? Like the formerly incarcerated.
Sure.
We have a program where we're bringing recovery coaching into 7 of our CIs. We're training recovery coaches in the institutions so that they're able to mentor other people within
CIs, correctional
that environment.
institutions.
Right,
Yeah.
and then after they come out, we have a very robust sort of support program for people when they're coming out to help them reconnect with the community so that they don't go back to do what they did before. Because there's so many extra challenges that a person leaving incarceration faces that they really need extra support.
So we started out by saying the best kept secret in Willimantic or in the I feel like bang, like the best kept secret. I mean, John, that was huge. You just said a whole lot of really important stuff.
Yeah.
Really important stuff, listeners. Really important stuff. And I don't want to lose the thread of TJ. I want to swing back to you and I'm sorry, it's the Young People and Families program. That is your unique work at CCAR?
Yes.
Say more?
Yeah, so when I walked into CCAR, I was 22 years old, right? So I remember.
Now you're not.
Now I'm not. Now I'm 32. So I'm, edging my way out of young people's recovery, but I definitely have a very good.
Not for me.
I haven't.
You are
I'm 64. I'm all over it.
We all define young differently.
So
The older you get, it's funny how that changes.
a lot of the idea around young people's recovery comes from people walking into a room like, a standard 12-step room, whatever, right? And being like, how do I really fit in here, right? So how can it comes around to the idea of like, how can young people better support young people, right? Because like how many times has things like the DARE initiative or these like Scared Straight type of programming.
Adult, top down, not the person to
McGruff.
person,
Not
peer to
meeting you
peer.
where you are.
Right.
Exactly.
Take a bite out of
Not meeting you
crime.
where you are.
Yeah, not treating people as a resource, right? So how often do we ask young people what they want to do and how we can support them, right? So that's kind of
Never.
like where that whole idea comes from. So, I remember myself being 22 years old and taking my first breaths of recovery and being like, how the heck am I going to do this every day for the rest of my life? Right, and the question is, I have to start by doing it one day at a time. And the other thing is, I needed to get around people who understood me better, right? So, specifics to Young People and Family Services program, we have a bunch of Young People's All Recovery meetings right here at 713 Main Street every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. We have a Young People's All Recovery meeting, 7 to 8. We work with a lot of the colleges, so we have partnerships with both UConn and Eastern. So it's great transition for students who are in recovery or recovery curious, right? Get them around the well, let them catch it, right? If you're recovery curious, if you're interested, because a lot of times we have people who come over for volunteer or internship opportunities, and then they're around the meeting and they're like, well, yeah, and then they start to make the
Exactly,
connection with all those people around them. So I think, coming together as a community is a big thing. Specific events for young people. We hosted a big event in Hartford this year called Nourish to Flourish, where Young People and Family Services raised both like $500 worth of diapers for the local organizations in Hartford, so young people in recovery. And then we partnered with Pathfinders on that, another recovery community organization, right? And we basically got together and said, how can people in recovery help rebuild the community? We hosted a big event with sound healing, yoga, a lot of holistic recovery stuff. We ended with a Young People's All Recovery meeting, and it was led by, some good people, and we had a lot of good support there. So, we really just focus on young people supporting young people, right? Or getting young people more involved in the recovery community.
So you talked about walking in the door after doing phone calls, and what's the next step? I mean,
I harassed him on the phone. How long did I harass you for?
what happens, or like how should a family member, if a family member has concerns about a child, another family member that may have an alcohol or drug addiction, how do they get them involved? Do they have to do it themselves? You talked about you making the decision.
So the most important thing that we can do is treat people as a resource, right? So, getting them on the phone with CCAR, getting them into a CCAR recovery community center. We have 8 in the state.
So I'm raising my hand because I want you to say, because radio can't see that I'm raising my hand, so I'm saying I'm raising my hand because I want you to say at some point, either one of you, people as a resource.
Yep, go ahead. John's really good at that. He's the training
Well,
guy.
so one of the things about CCAR that people don't get is our worldview. It's the why, like our why.
What is your why?
So our why is every human being is the best expert on their own life and their own experience, right? So by making people feel safe, valued, and comfortable in our presence, people feel free to share what they really think about their ideas, their dreams, their goals, their aspirations, their fears, all that stuff. Instead of being objectified by somebody in a coat who's going to be like, you need to do this, take this medication, go to this place. No, I want to know what you want. I want to know what you want to know, what you want me to know about you. I want to know what you want to know about me, and I want to start this collaborative journey to get you where you want to go in your own life. And you're the only person who has the information that's going to make that happen.
So you really have an individualized treatment plan then?
Well, that's the only way it ever works. I mean, one of the reasons why you have this paltry, like 20% success rate in the treatment industry, right, is the fact that they're working out of a playbook.
So it's not values-based, it's not
it's not
people-based.
It's not based on what works for each individual. We're all slightly different. We're all going to gravitate toward different things. We're all going to embrace different concepts and ideas. Why would I want to limit somebody's ability to thrive based on my wanting to make his recovery convenient for me?
for you. Sure. Yeah.
Do you recommend, if people come in, do you send them
back to you,
inpatient stays? Or
Not every time. So it's really what meets the needs of the person, right? So that's where the recovery coaching skills jump in, right? So we start to ask good questions and actively listen, right? Because how many times does somebody go into like some type of treatment or speak to a professional and they're like, you need to, and like give them this specific direction what they want, and nobody asks them what they want to do, right? So people are a lot more likely to engage in a recovery plan that they create themselves and feel supported in. So when I walked into, Willimantic CCAR and they were like, hey, how can we help you in your recovery today, right? I was like, well, I don't know, I'm a little bit lost. And it's like, okay, like, well, we're glad you're here, right? And like, then this go, like, what do you like to do, right? And I started to tell them about things I like to do, right? And like, well, have you ever thought about becoming a volunteer? And it's like, yeah, like, that's pretty cool. Have you ever thought about becoming a recovery coach? And I started to take recovery coach trainings and learn all these things, right? And I started to feel fulfilled in my life, right? Because people like John didn't treat me as a recipient or a object when I walked into that building, right? I felt fulfilled in navigating that.
So I want Allison to ask this question right here because there's so much great energy coming from you two. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
I mean, so she's going to ask you this question, but maybe there's lots of answers.
I'm sure.
Yeah, after talking just
now I know what the question is.
past 15 minutes, I already know that you're going to have many answers to this question, but I'll start with you. What do you love most about what you do at CCAR?
Oh, that's easy. I have the privilege of holding space for some of the most remarkable people you will ever meet. They display a degree of grace and dignity that I just don't possess. And what an honor. What an honor. And the fact that anybody could think that I could have anything positive to contribute to their life and their recovery, it just blows my mind. I should say, like you, right? I'm a guy in long-term recovery, and I haven't put any of that stuff in my body for over 16 years. Like December 7th, 2009, for whatever that's worth. But the bottom line is like, it's like my buddy Mike Askew used to say, I do this for free, but I'm glad they pay me for it. Because that place saves my life every day.
CCAR.
Every day.
And the people in it.
And you're saving others.
The community, It's the community. Yeah. And what a great community Willimantic is.
Right, so addiction recovery community, but also Willimantic.
But the Willimantic community is so supportive of people trying to make positive change in their lives. It's remarkable. I love it.
Yeah.
I never would have expected. I mean, landing in this little farm town, right? That the embarrassment of resources available for people who are trying to make positive change is amazing.
Yeah. TJ?
Yeah, I mean, I love the change that we can help initiate in people, right? People come in and like I see a lot of myself when I first came into recovery, right? And like, working with an intern and like them loving recovery and like kind of wanting to be involved, and then like coming in and being like, well, maybe I should, and having that conversation and supporting them through. And now they work in the field and like we're still, really engaged, and like they help lead the charge in a lot of stuff with their college and bringing a lot of people around, right? Like, the thing is like, we're in it for a lot of day-to-day wins, right? Because a lot of people come in lost and hopeless, and like if we can change their way of thinking to help them make it one more day, right? Like that's essentially
It's huge.
what people did for me. People like John, right? That like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have those people, and like to be able to be on the other side and feel fully committed. The other thing too is we also do a lot of advocacy work, right? We're both able to be here and make this connection and reach out. And like today, one of the best things about working at CCAR is I don't have to wear a mask, right? I don't have to come in with shame and guilt of my past, right? I can be a man in recovery today, right? And talk about those things openly, and we can joke about things that have happened, the wild blunders in the past, right? And when I got
Personal
hired,
adventures, right? How they call them?
I like that.
Personal adventures.
when I got hired at CCAR, I was very afraid that they weren't going to hire me because I used to have a record, right? And they were like, no, we don't call that a record, we call that a resume, and you're well qualified for this position, right? So like I was afforded the opportunity, and like that we get to do the same thing for other people.
Yeah. So if I can add, one of the things I love about CCAR is the way in which, and this is also true for the work that Allison does at Generations, is the partnerships. And you talked about the community at large and what's available resource-wise. So I led a program some years ago at my agency called Access to Employment.
Yep.
And one of the people who went through that class, it's like a 6-week, you have to do a community service project.
Yep.
And their community services project was on addiction and recovery. And she walked into CCAR to help with her community service project, and I think Kelly is still working with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly's my volunteer manager. She's fabulous. I love her.
Yeah. So
And Kelly is one of those famous. It's one of those classic Willimantic success stories, right? Kelly came out of incarceration, landed at the DOC
Reception
halfway
programs,
house,
yeah.
hit the ground running, started volunteering, knew she needed some computer skills and a laptop, came to you guys. We've had several people come through us who have gotten not only trained computers and gainful employment through Access Agency, and we're very grateful for everything that you do for our people too.
Yeah,
right.
well.
But Kelly, she hit the ground running. She was interviewing for a job at BJ's, and I remember Melissa McGee, who was the volunteer manager at the time, being like, "Okay, you're going for the interview. Sell me this stapler." And she stood up at the stapler. This is the Sweetline model, and we knew she was getting it. And she's just fabulous. I love her.
yeah, well, when I went on your website, it was like you said, John. I mean, this is what makes you happy every single day.
Exactly.
To see Kelly on your website, I was just like, woohoo!
And who would have thought that as being such an absolutely self-centered, cynical idiot that I had been in the past, that these are the things that bring me joy.
Yeah.
So let's pull it back to the great work that CCAR does,
Thank you so much.
and what you do. I mean, it's just inspiring, and we are so lucky to have a CCAR location in Willimantic, and a community that connects everybody together, as Kathleen just pointed out, and you did. Can you talk about the benefits of participating in Dry January? I mean, probably when you both started in recovery, Dry January wasn't the term everybody was using. Maybe a New Year's resolution would be giving up drinking or drinking less, but never referred to as Dry January. What are some of the benefits people can reap from doing Dry January?
I think something like Dry January is a great opportunity to just kick the tires on the things that are going on in your life. Right? Whether it's drinking, whether it's substitutes, whether it's food or sugar or smoke, whatever it happens to be, it's a good opportunity to just kind of assess where I'm at. Because if I had at some point in the past said, I'm going to spend the month of January without consuming alcohol, I would have found out on January 2nd that was impossible. But the problem there is just if I can be honest with myself to admit that I can't do it, then I might actually do something about it, right? Because, awareness of the situation exists is the first thing, and then you got to decide whether you're going to do something about it. And that's why we're here, to try and facilitate that process.
All right.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for enlightening the community about the resources out there that CCAR provides.
TJ and John from CCAR here on WILI 1400 AM and 95.3 FM. Hey everybody, welcome back to the second half of Community Conversations. This is the show where we talk to the folks who help to keep our communities safe, healthy, and resourced. And in the second half of this show, we are going to be talking to somebody from Artreach. We'll get to her in just a second, but I do want to remind us that we're talking a little bit about Dry January, about the fresh start to the new year and the resources that are available. And so I just wanted to say some more that, dry January and abstinence in general is not without its hurdles. Social situations are often the biggest challenges, right? So we live in these cultures where hospitality and celebration revolve around shared food and drink, and these things, in the most positive way, can contribute to great mental health. They help with isolation, bringing people together. So in some ways, they can be a really, really positive experience for people to have. We also have a lot of habits that play roles in how we imbibe, how we drink, how we eat, how we play. And for many people, like for me, for example, the evening drink is the most ritualistic of all. I was absolutely raised in a family that is committed to cocktail hour. And when we are thinking about the things that are challenging for us, it is that time of the day that actually can feel the heaviest, where something like having a drink can feel like the best resource for us, right? So that's my family's patterns and behaviors. And removing these patterns and these behaviors can feel really unsettling at first if you don't have something social, something fun, something that can replace that. And so acknowledging these challenges is essential, and dry January works best when approached without perfectionism or guilt, allowing for flexibility and self-awareness to guide your choices. And so here to talk about what those choices can be in a fun, playful, social, really healthy way, Allison, introduce her.
I'd like to thank you, Kathleen. I'd like to introduce Carin, Jennie, Estey from Artreach, which is located in Norwich, Connecticut. Welcome. I can't wait to hear about all the fun things we can do when we're sober and during dry January.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Great. Tell us a little bit about Artreach.
Yeah, Artreach is a nonprofit located in Norwich, Connecticut. We actually just wrapped up our 40th year anniversary last year.
Congratulations.
Wow,
Yeah,
awesome.
I
Isn't that
had
incredible?
no idea.
Yeah, we're the best kept secret in southeastern Connecticut.
Next
I
to
think.
CCAR,
Next
right?
to
We've got the
CCAR.
best kept secret.
But we're trying to help you broadcast about it.
No more best kept secrets.
Yep.
We're
Everything's out
letting them
there.
all out. Yeah,
That's right.
No
Yeah.
longer safe.
Exactly. So we've been around for 40 years. We offer arts opportunities to people who have lived experience with mental illness and addiction to help them achieve sustainable recovery. And our public performances educate the public and help remove stigma surrounding mental illness.
So can I just ask, I want to clarify for people when we say lived so two questions I have. I want to clarify lived experience. So can you say a little bit more about that? And then I also want you to talk at some point about public opportunities, like where these happen, because I think it's pretty cool. There's a lot going on. So start with lived experience, if you would.
Absolutely. Lived experience, I will try to define it without using the definition in it,
Right,
but it means someone who has a mental illness or has had one in the past, or is dealing with it right now. Different mental illnesses, some are lifelong, some, depression for some folks is chronic. For some folks, it's something that comes and goes, or something that happens situationally at one part in the life. So when we say lived experience, we mean folks who are dealing with mental illness right now or have dealt with it in a significant way in the past.
Thank you.
Great. So what kind of programs do you offer and these public events?
Right.
Yeah.
What are they? Where are they? When
Absolutely.
are they?
So we offer all sorts of programs. And what's cool about our program versus other rec programs is that we're an arts agency that does mental health. So all of our folks that we bring in are professional artists or have experience in both working professionally in the arts and in mental health. So it's a really unique group of folks. And our programs, they vary year to year, but we have a weekly art class, and our art gets shown in galleries around Connecticut, and sometimes we sell our art on behalf of our members. We offer, our oldest program is the Second Step Players, which is a sketch comedy troupe about navigating life with mental illness, what it means to live on disability, to deal with the mental health system in the state of Connecticut. So that's one of our oldest programs. And then we have have a music coffee house that we do just about every year, which features musicians. We have 2 full live bands, and then our members are able to choose a song that they sing lead on. And then among all of those different
Wait a
things,
minute.
yeah.
This is not like karaoke lip sync, right? Like they're actually up on stage.
So they're
Yep.
talented members, is what you're saying. And when
Yeah.
you refer to members, what are you saying? Is it the person, the
thank
artist
you.
that's involved, or is it the person seeking the services?
The person seeking the services, when I say members, yeah.
And on that same note, how do artists get
Note
involved?
on that same note.
You get it?
There we are, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like if I was an artist and I want to get involved in bringing my art to your members, how would I get involved?
Yeah, well, folks can reach out through our website or any of our social media. We do have folks approach us sometimes with ideas, and usually we'll sit down, we'll figure out how can it work for our group, if it'll work with our schedule. We're a really small staff. We're only 4 full-time workers at our agency, so little staff, but big footprint. So sometimes, we have to plan, like, we're going to do that in a year just because we don't have the bandwidth to do it, but we love seeking new ideas and new opportunities and working with different artists. We recently just had a new artist who sought us out who was from France, an amazing photographer, and they came all the way over from Europe to run a week-long photography workshop with us.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so really excellent opportunities, and while we have our mainstays, we're always trying to mix it up as well, which is really cool.
Okay,
So if I was a member, sorry.
Yeah, no, you go.
If I was a member and I wanted to take that photography class, do I have to pay for it, or do you offer all these services for free?
We offer our services for free, and specifically for folks who are receiving services from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services.
Another DEMAS organization.
We have a
Yes,
theme
we
going
are.
on here.
This is
Yes.
the DEMAS Day.
So folks, if they want to get involved, they're able to go right on our website, click on Join Outreach. Our website is outreachheals.org, and there's a form that they can fill out, or if they have a support person like a case manager, they can sit down and fill it out with a case manager. So there's the option for either a support person or the individual to fill out the form and reach out, and then they'll get an email or a call from me, actually, and then we go through the process of seeing if it's a good fit. We work with folks usually who have a little bit of recovery under their belt. So we're working with folks who maybe are a few months out of an inpatient idea. They're finding housing, they're kind of stabilizing a bit more, and they're ready to reshape their life and enter the community and find social spaces. A lot of times, like you said, in places that might not have, the same old habits or old haunts or old issues. So that's where we come in. Folks can join us and join our community, and a lot of our members are lifelong members.
That's what I was going to ask you. So there's not a cutoff. I can only do this for 1 year.
Once you're with us, you're here as long as you want. And something I really love about Outreach is we recognize that mental health and your mental health journey isn't linear. So we sometimes will have folks who are with us weekly for 5 years, and then maybe they have a span where they're not doing as well and they need to step away. If they call us a year later or 3 years later or even 5 years later and say, hey, I want to get involved in, I see that you're doing coffee house, I've done that in the past, I want to do it again, they can come right back in. And that's really important. And that's something that you don't always see in the regular artistic community. Sometimes people feel that, like, if they have that mental health struggle, that's it. They've screwed up if they've had to drop out of a program or a play or a rehearsal. They might feel like, oh no, people aren't gonna want me back. People might think I'm irresponsible. There's no fear of that at Outreach. If you need to step away, when you're ready to come back and work on something, everyone understands that, healing is not linear. And we always welcome people back if they need to take that break for their health.
Nice.
Great. So I want to ask you about yourself, about how you got to Outreach. What is your talent? Do you sing? Do you dance?
So my background's in theater.
Okay.
Specifically.
All the world to play.
I do sing and help with the music program, but that's really more so Dick Pape, our music director's bag.
And your executive director plays the bass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rebecca Atkins is our executive director. Her background first started in dance. So she had a dance career and danced professionally, and eventually she joined up with Artreach. She went and got her master's and is a licensed counselor as well. And she plays bass in the band, and she learned bass for Artreach. So we love to learn alongside our members as well.
That's great.
And show that, arts and our education is a lifelong practice. And
Back to the
really-
lived experience.
Yeah, that
sure.
lifelong learning. And
We
that
can always learn something new.
Exactly. So while I'm teaching theater, sometimes I'm going to the visual art class because for me, that's my, since it has nothing to do with my career or money, visual art, painting with watercolors, that's my, artistic
Relaxation.
release. Yeah.
Yep.
So sometimes
mental health.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we benefit from learning from other artists and other mental health professionals as well, which I think is really special.
So what do you do at Artreach?
Okay, I'm the event coordinator. Like I said, we're small, so I wear multiple hats, but I am in charge of curating kind of our recreation opportunities. So those are our programs where we go out to the community. We have a great partnership with Chestnut Street Playhouse where we get to see every final dress rehearsal for their shows, their plays and musicals throughout the year. We have a Museum of the Month trip where we take people out. So I kind of curate those different offerings, and then I also assist in running our theater programs. Sometimes I'm directing, sometimes I'm acting, sometimes I'm writing, sometimes I'm stage managing. Usually I'm stage managing. That's me.
You say you have a background in theater.
Yes.
You are a graduate of
Ithaca College.
Ithaca. Oh, it's gorgeous.
It is.
That's
beautiful.
what they say, right? That it's gorgeous. I agree.
Ithaca is gorgeous.
Yeah. So I majored in theater studies with focuses in directing and playwriting, and my minor was in recreation with a focus in therapeutic rec.
Okay.
Wow, so it all came together.
Exactly.
Perfect spot. And how many active members do you currently have right now at Art Space?
So we have around
Artreach,
40.
excuse me, I said Art Space.
Well,
All
they're
good.
reaching into the space.
Space, right. And I was just thinking about the visual arts.
Yeah, no, all good. We have about 40 members, but usually, like I said, folks come and go for different programs. Not everyone does every program. We do have a solid group of 6 people who dip their toes in almost every program, and they're consistently there. But our groups usually range between 8 and 13, so it's usually a tight-knit group, since we are just 4 staff members. So 40 is kind of the big picture number, but usually our groups are smaller than that, or our casts for theatrical productions.
And I want to talk a little bit about the thirds. What are third spaces? This is something you brought to us.
Yeah.
What are third spaces, and why are they important to?
Absolutely.
Very intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, so third spaces, that's been kind of a big buzzword since COVID. So your first space is your home. Your second space is your job or your school. And then a third space is supposed to be where you go to be in community. Traditionally, a lot of those spaces are coffee shops or bars. So third spaces are shrinking. We've seen a lot of those spaces close during COVID. And then, with issues with money, money's tight for a lot of people right now. If you're already paying I don't know what the Netflix fee is per month anymore. I'm scared to look
I
it up.
just canceled mine, so I
but,
can't tell
yeah.
you. I let it go.
$16.99.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
For a one-person membership.
There you go. If you paid $16.99 for your Netflix this month already, it might, some people are like, maybe I should do that instead of spending the $16.99 on a coffee and a pastry at my shop. I already paid the money. Let me just go home. I'm exhausted. People are burnt out. And that's where they go. So we're seeing these third spaces really shrink. And third spaces have been around forever. And one of the biggest parts about them is it's not just good for your social health, but it creates community, and ideas traditionally come out of these spaces. Third spaces go back to ancient Rome, the salons. And then again, we see them again in France during that period. They're hosting these
Belle Époque.
salons. Yeah. All these great ideas, melding of minds. And
Gertrude
that's just,
Stein and Alice B. Absolutely.
Yeah, there was
a third space.
So so a third space is really important for your social health, for your community's larger health, for feeling connected. And they just don't exist as much anymore. And when they do, a lot of them do center alcohol.
Allison, let's make this a third space.
Yes,
You and me and Kristen, let's make community conversations a third space.
it is for
Okay.
all of our community members.
Groovy.
Where you all come
heard
and
it here
get
first.
connected.
I love that.
Connection
heard it here
is my
first.
word of the year.
There
so,
we go.
I would like to have a third space.
And so I'm going to ask the question about sober
Yeah.
artistic third spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I just said, sober third spaces are harder to come by, since a lot of them now are bars, or they're hard to come by after 5 p.m. A coffee shop is great. All the coffee shops, for the most part in my town, close by 3.
And who's
Yes.
drinking coffee well, I'm not.
Right. I'm not because I'll be
suppose
up all
I'm-
night.
Yeah, right.
So-
Yeah, exactly.
You're living in that third space.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, what are the options that don't involve that? I spent my first few years post college living in Norwich, Connecticut, right near the casinos, and that was where you went out. And there weren't a ton of restaurants or places to go downtown, so naturally, we'd end up in the casino, surrounded by drinking or gambling, not because that was necessarily the large intention, but because that was the place to go. And so it's really important that we find these spaces that are free of substances and where people can go without that fear of, oh no, I'm going to be pressured to drink. Because for a lot of folks, you don't know who you'll run into at a bar, but you might have social pressure to drink, or just simply being in a bar with so much alcohol, seeing everyone else, you're going to be more tempted, likely, to say, all right, I'll order a beer. So it's really important that we create these spaces, because the reverse is people either isolating because they can't find these spaces, or instead, or potentially relapsing or keeping alcohol in their life in a more prevalent way than they actually want to, simply out of comfort or familiarity, or a feeling of pressure of almost necessity, because that's the social
Norm,
scene they might have.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, Allison, I'm wondering, do you know what... I'm thinking about social isolation and what you might be seeing at Generations in terms of people coming in with mental health issues related specifically to social isolation.
It's a huge issue
Yeah.
for both older people and younger people. We're seeing it especially with the younger people, I should say, because of the technology and the devices. And most of these young people lived through COVID and all the effects of COVID and being isolated, not being in school, not being in social settings, not being able to play team sports or do theater, that sort of thing. And so that affected their mental health.
And maybe potentially the loss of co-curricular activities in schools. So instead of staying after school to participate in band or drama or even sports or, yearbook or something like that, kids are at home on their devices, isolated in their rooms. Very small third spaces, not what we're really talking about at all.
Yeah, that would be their first space.
That would be their
They're
first
just
space,
going
thank you,
between
right.
home
School
and
home,
school.
first and second.
Yeah,
right, sure.
and they don't really have that third space. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Have you noticed there's a new term now, grandma's hobbies are coming back. People are knitting. People are getting involved in community theater. People are baking sourdough bread. They're doing all these things that our grandmas did.
Wait a minute, I'm a
before-
grandma. I'm a grandma, and I knit. So I'm going to own that grandma hobby.
Okay.
I'm going to own it too. I crochet.
Oh, nice,
Okay.
nice.
I do not knit or crochet. Have tried both because I really want to, but was not my thing. But photography, all these different things that people can do, that when technology came along, even before the pandemic, people started doing those things instead of doing things where they might meet somebody or produce something that's,
Yeah.
beautiful, or in the eye of the beholder, beautiful. But are you seeing a surge of people getting interested in it, not just because of the third space and isolation, but because they want to learn something new?
A little bit. I see some people going back to some of those things more, which is great. I think it's hard to say with the young folks, though, whether or not that's a lot of those hobbies that you mentioned, a lot of them are solitary.
Sure.
So that's still the issue that we're having.
Okay.
So many people are
You're
like,
right.
oh, I'll crochet by myself, or I'll take photos on my phone by myself, or which, again, all those things are great. And it's important to have, hobbies and artistic outlets that are individual and with other people.
See, and
yeah.
I was asking the question based on, are you seeing people coming to some of these workshops that you're having, like that they want to learn one of the grandma hobbies, and so then they're in community because they're with others that are interested in that topic or want to learn how to knit or crochet.
Yeah.
Or to do stand-up, or to do
Yep.
improv, or to sing
Exactly.
publicly with the band.
Exactly. And what we do is we don't do art therapy, we do social rehab. So that's what we're doing in all of that. We're doing art for our well-being, but we're also practicing social skills, practicing, keeping a schedule and being accountable with a group if it's a group rehearsal setting like a theater setting. But yeah, you're exactly right that, the activity can be kind of the bait. And then when folks get into the community and see how helpful it is, folks stick around.
That's great. Now, you said you have somebody that shared with you recently
Yes.
About the program and how it impacted them.
Yeah, we recently had all of our events at Artreach are sober, but in talking to the community, I heard a lot of desire for either like sober open mics or music jams or like sober paint parties just from the general public. I kept hearing that over and over again. So with the support of Demas and the Problem Gambling Awareness Through the Arts Initiative, we did kind of a sober open mic sort of event with our members. And, we transformed our space, we got some lights, we tried to make it feel a little bit like a lounge scene, something fun and different, but no alcohol, and people knew that they wouldn't be faced with that pressure. So I asked some of my members, what they thought and what that meant to them, and here's what one of my longtime members, Dacia Butts from Norwich, has to say. She says, quote, "Not everyone drinks, and sometimes you want to be with people who are sober and not people who are drinking. That's why I don't go to bars. That's why events like Showcase are important," end quote.
Nice. Very nice.
It's very nice
She's
of her
right.
to share
Right
that.
on the money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you could just say one more time for our listeners who you are, where you are, what you are, your address, how people can reach you.
Absolutely. I also want to give a shout out. We don't have any public events scheduled for the month of January, but if you're interested in a sober art space, definitely check out Grace's Place. They're a new sober cafe and bar, so they're really cool. Come check out our public performances going forward. I'm Carin, Jennie, Estey from Artreach Inc. in Norwich, Connecticut, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube at Artreach Heals.
Thank you so much. And we're going to wrap this up with some practical tips on how to get through dry January.
So first off, as you were talking about, plan some enjoyable alternatives rather than relying on your willpower alone.
Get out there with other people, right? And stock your fridge with interesting non-alcoholic options you actually look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And then pair food thoughtfully with drinks that complement flavors, not just replace alcohol.
So that's a little bit of that Ina Garten, right? You can what pairs nicely with this boof? Or whatever. I'm sorry. Obviously, I need to learn to cook too.
This roasted chicken.
Right.
Yeah.
Beef Wellington.
I
There
had
you
the
go.
best mocktail of my life.
Oh,
It
nice.
was like curry and mango at Port of Call for last year. They had a bunch of mocktails for dry January.
And you're
So-
seeing that on many menus
Yeah.
now. You're seeing everybody catching on to the buzz of dry January or damp
The
January.
buzz, catching on to the
Yep.
buzz.
See, I'm having lots of puns. Okay.
There you go.
And you also need to tell people that when you're in a social setting, let them know that you're not drinking, and so they can respect your boundaries.
Maybe even another pun, front load that, right, by letting people know prior to your showing up at the event that this is the space that you're in. You're not drinking in the month of January, or you are practicing a sober lifestyle, and you'd like to have them know that ahead of time, and maybe they can provide or make sure that you have what you need so that you can participate, because I do think we're talking about that participatory part of being sober. And going back to my family's strong commitment to cocktail hour, it is important to create new, in my case, evening rituals, but rituals in general that supplant and take the place of the things that you always did before, like that cocktail hour ritual in my family. So creating new habits, getting out and about, maybe being a little bit brave, a little bit bold, a little bit wiser. And with that,
thank you.
Thank you
for
very
being
much.
with us today. Thank you for joining us on our journey of community conversations here on 1400 AM and 95.3. Have a safe, happy, and dry January.
Thank you, everyone.